Hi, everybody. I think I'm live now. I think it's working now. I tried to do it from my link and it didn't work. So I did a different one, but welcome. I'm excited. Welcome to those who will join me. Hopefully, you guys will find it. I'm going to give it just a moment because I had to use a different link. So I apologize. I did the whole setup through Zoom. I put in the keys and everything right. I know I did. I've done it before, but for some reason, said live and it didn't want to connect. So I'm like, well, screw this. I'm already late. So welcome. I will kind of introduce myself a little bit and give you a little insight into who I am before we get started today. Today, we are going to talk about something a little bit different, maybe a little controversial, right? That's a possibility. And that's okay. It's not a matter of opinion. It's just about my crazy journey, kind of what came through me. And some of those who have been subscribed to my channel and do the work that I do are well aware of what I'm talking about, but some might not be. So I'm going to give a little rundown into the work that I've done because it's relevant. So we're also going to watch the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Doomsday Prophecy, but in a way where I kind of I'm allowed to watch it. So I'll stop and react to it and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit because the other, like quite a few times Spirit has talked about through my journey how what I do is biblical. What was happening to me was biblical. It was coming through on specific dates at specific times and weird things were happening, right? And they kept saying it was biblical, but not like the Bible that we know. Okay. Before I get too far, my name is Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an ascension master, master healer, and divine guide. I'm the one who brought about the ascension, and that's a loaded statement. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Spirit has said that what I've done is kind of like the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's what it would align to, not to the Bible as we know it. There's a lot of misinformation within it, some truths, some not. And they showed me that a long time ago, before I knew who I was or what I was doing. And then come to understand that it's more in line with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they've also mentioned the Hopi prophecy. And I'm like, you know what? I've never really watched these things or learned about these things until now. I probably should. So I'm going to kind of go over that a little bit. I don't want to get into too much of who I am because it's a lot. It could take me a lot to talk about it. It's all been recorded and witnessed, and it's mostly on this channel for you guys to watch, especially in the Ascension playlist. I kind of organize the specific ones there, but on my channel, there's lots of videos. Like I said, I had a Kundalini awakening. I think I said that in 2019. And then my whole life changed. It really did. I didn't even know what a Kundalini awakening was at that time. I mean, you kind of hear about it, but I wasn't expecting it. It's not something I had been looking to have happen to me. Then all of a sudden, these weird things started happening to me where I was like healing people and doing these things and I could see things and it was weird. I was trying to figure out what was happening to me and I was doing healings like nobody really understood and I didn't understand. I didn't even know existed. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, right? And I was hearing these things like it's going to sound weird, but I had God tell me in this workshop that I was doing with somebody that I was going to change the world. And I'm like, okay, well, that's through healings. That's pretty cool, right? We all get to change the world that way. I like that. So that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. Turned out to be really crazy and really painful. Then it went into like Spirit would nudge me to do these things, create Hertz music. And I'm like, what's that? And I learned how, and I did it. I taught myself all these things, right? Like I didn't know. Spirit would just be like, do this, and I would do it. And they were like, do workshops. And I'm like, what's that? Okay, I'll do it. And they started out clunky, kind of like spell casting. I talk about that sometimes. Like my very first one is I wrote it out on paper. It was weird. I didn't know what I was doing. Long story short, I'll try to shorten it up a little bit more. And then it went into, at one time I was meditating. That's when things would happen to me a lot. I sat on Saturn and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I literally sat on the rings and Hermes was with me all of a sudden. And it was very real. Like I had cleared this contract all of a sudden. I saw myself die. And then we rose Atlantis. So I had died in Atlantis, and that took a while to process. I talk about that a lot on my channel too, and what happened there. From that, it went into clearing Mount Shasta. I had no idea about Mount Shasta or what that was, or what it meant to clear it until I did it. And that painting back there is a depiction of that. Somebody else painted that before I even did it, and we didn't know what it meant at the time. So crazy things, right? And then from there, it like didn't stop. It just kept coming and happening. Now, mind you, I was literally doing things so often, like my whole life became this. It took over. These things were really, truly just, it was like nudges I would feel. It was always this feeling of I had to get something done. I had to get this accomplished. Like, it was a big deal. Like I knew I had to get this accomplished. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. Then I started activating pyramids, and I'm like, what the hell are these? Like, you think of the pyramids in Egypt, and that's all I really ever thought of. I didn't activate any pyramids in Egypt except for the Sphinx, which ended up being the portal of time. The other pyramids I activated started in Fiji, which became the Earth's root chakra. And we cut off life support to California after that. Then I activated more pyramids, Machu Picchu, Brazil, Myanmar, Thailand. There was one that was hidden in like trees, somewhere under the water. They're like all over, and all those played out. I have that on my channel as well for you guys to kind of look back on. And then it went from there to freeing Jesus's soul. And I thought at first that was the resurrection of Christ. I'm like, wow, what the heck just happened? I was doing a workshop for my Patreons at the time. It's usually how they would come through in a surprise. And then in the end, I saw Jesus, and it was like as if he was alive on earth. Okay. That's why I'm going to really talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I have to give this information really quick because it's relevant. It looked like he was in Egypt. And I said that it's nowhere near where we're at. It's nowhere near where we're at. It's like I'm in Egypt. It's like red sandy. And he was quite malnourished and looked like he was living a rough life. And like he was like sunburned almost, but sandburned and sunburned. I can't get over that. And he was like really hungry. And John the Apostle was there. And it was like his best friend, but something didn't feel right. It was almost as if I became him, and I was processing what was happening. And I talked about it in the video. It was recorded, which I uploaded for you guys to witness as well. That was one of the first major things that I uploaded. I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, it was insane. And it was witnessed. I had people with me, and then my workshop people witnessed it. And then John the Apostle handed him bread and wine. And the thing is Jesus had hesitated. He knew better. He knew not to take it. And this was, I was like, process. I'm like, I don't want it. And then I'm like, but I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. And I was like, and I went ahead and did it. And he ate the bread and drank the wine. Now, both were poisoned so much that as long as he ate one, he was going to die. And he ate and drank both. And so then he started to die very painfully. And that's how he died. It was from the inside out. Like, it started burning. It hurt so bad. That's what was happening to me as I was feeling the pain. I just started crying. It was so painful. It was excruciating. Like, he suffered. I will say that again. He suffered for at least 20 minutes. Then he started bleeding out of every orifice. Okay. Then after that happened, his soul lifted up, and I thought it was going to go up like the other souls did from Mount Shasta and stuff. And like when I free souls, and it didn't happen that way. He went into the Garden of Eden. Now, the Garden of Eden, he became a flower. It's this big, beautiful white flower. This really did happen. Okay. And I thought, oh, geez, that was like the return of Christ. It wasn't. The return of Christ actually became my twin flame journey. And it ended very painfully with one of my DM dying. But that was the resurrection of Christ, was united him and Mary Magdalene in the end. And I saw what the Holy Grail was. The Holy Grail is not a cup. There was a cup involved just to gather his blood by Mary Magdalene. But the Holy Grail was actually, John the Apostle wrote a contract in Jesus's blood that basically stole everything from you. That's the easiest way to put it. Now, here's the thing. Through my journey, I'm about ready to let you guys watch this thing. But through my journey, I learned, and I asked Spirit, because people asked me where the Garden of Eden was, and they said Jerusalem. It's in Israel, Jerusalem. I kept saying Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Israel. That's relevant, especially for the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then like where Atlantis is, Lake Titicaca, that's also relevant, but I don't know if that comes up in that one or not. So I didn't know much about the Dead Sea Scrolls, so I started looking into it. Garden of Eden is in Israel, Jerusalem. I think, Jesus had died wherever this is, the original, probably Jerusalem. I'm not exactly sure. They didn't ask where he died. Maybe I should, right? Like, this is all new to me. I'm still kind of processing what happened, because the resurrection occurred this last Christmas. My new DM and I were supposed to unite, and you can watch me do it. I did it. It came through me. I wasn't expecting it live on this channel. And where I cleared what happened to Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and then their souls united, which is what my DM and my soul did. It was painful. Like, it was very painful. And I resurrected them. It's been insane. So that's kind of enough about that. I think I've explained enough about that. We get the gist. As we're watching it, when things come up, I got to kind of react to it. That way they don't hopefully shut down my video. They don't like me doing this too much. So I'm going to kind of react to it. I'll stop it and give a little explanations of what kind of happens to me on my journey and how it relates. Again, I didn't know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Spirit had said that it was relevant to that. When I cleared the collective shadow and the individual shadow workshop that I did, like I think I was what kind of looked like it could have been the Euphrates River. There were like these caves, these tunnels. And I went through there and I ripped some soul out of something, and I cleared more souls there. And when I did that, like, it's all relevant. It really is. Let's kind of watch. It's overwhelming amount of information. Let's watch and we'll see what else it says. So I'm going to share so y'all can see. Okay. I do have it up. Let me pull up my live chat in case anybody does have anything to say. I'll be there. I'm on there. I got you. Now you should be able to see. Let me wait until I have proof and confirmation. My screen for Discovery Plus. I have a bit of delay. There we go. Yes, that is what you can see. Okay. There we go. So I started doing a little research. So I might do a couple of these videos just because I didn't know a lot about it. I'm still learning about the Dead Sea Scrolls. I will tell you that, I'm trying to mute the commercials. I don't think they know everything about the Dead Sea Scrolls. So when they found them, I think back in the 40s, they found them hidden in a jar, right? And they'll talk about that. And then some people kind of shut the information out from the world, kind of made it hush hush. And obviously, right? So people will dispute this information.
Between the Jews of Judea and the Roman Empire. Once it would face with the Romans, it was life or death. A few hundred rebels defy the mightiest empire of the ancient world. It's going to take you out whether it's a killing blow or not. Is the war foretold in these mysterious texts from the time of Christ? The Dead Sea Scrolls.
What was in those caves was the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century.
Today, revolutionary findings in a tunnel deep beneath Jerusalem reveal the deadly secrets of these cataclysmic events.
The Romans destroyed Jerusalem down to its foundations.
Who are the people defying the will of Rome? What truth is contained in their scrolls' doomsday prophecy? To solve these mysteries, we'll venture deep into desert caves, reconstruct a king's mountain lair, and unearth new evidence of an epic conflict to reveal the dark secrets of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is Masada,
Can you guys
in
actually
modern-day
see it,
Israel.
or are they blocking
a
it?
magnificent royal palace perched 1,500 feet up.
I'm gonna pause it because I don't actually see it playing. It's like a black screen that you guys see. So I'm not sure they're letting me, not letting me play it, which I'm gonna be really sad about. You should be able to see my screen. Let me try this, maybe.
Above the shores of the Dead Sea.
Yeah, see, when I
The palace
paused it,
was-
you can see the commercial, but the screen is black. God nabbit, why do they do this? They're sons of crabs, I'm telling you. They're shystas. They don't want me getting anything out. They blocked my other video too. It shows you me pushing play and pushing
Built in the
pause, and you can
first
probably
century
hear it.
BC by the king of Judea, Herod the Great.
What we have here is not only a palace or palatial fortress, but it's actually a villa in the middle of nowhere.
Masada is an extraordinary mountaintop megastructure.
Hopefully you guys can
A
hear it.
hanging palace sits inside the fortress.
I'm gonna
It
see.
is constructed on 3 terraces above cliffs nearly 1,500 feet high. It houses a barracks, an armory, even a centrally heated bathhouse. The palace is testament to the huge ambitions of its ruler.
Essentially, they talk a lot about, so I'm a little bummed because they're not letting me show it. Wouldn't you know? The show that I'm actually trying to show is on Discovery Plus. It's the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Doomsday Prophecy. Okay. I might play it and have you look at me and hear it. And then we'll kind of talk about it. It's not letting me let you see it, but you can hear it and see my pretty face. So it talks a lot about these scrolls that they found. Okay, they were in a jar. They believe they weren't necessarily found in the right origin, and some of the hidden scrolls that are coming to light talk of a doomsday prophecy. And so I'll kind of play a little so you can hear it. It's so long. I encourage you to watch it, the whole thing.
Herod. And buried within the palace, texts of strange holy Jewish verse written in Hebrew, dating back 2,000 years.
Scrolls.
Secret documents left by a mysterious people who write a terrifying prophecy of a coming apocalyptic war. Dr. Guy Stiebel from Tel Aviv University.
So you can hear that, a coming apocalyptic war. And it talks a lot about, they're not sure what they were depicting. They're trying to figure out, was this what they were depicting? Because clearly they were wiped out. Now, what wiped them out? That brings me to how Jesus was truly murdered. It makes sense to me how he was murdered, and John the Apostle, everybody just kind of took over. And then they had warned of a final apocalyptic war, which I think is the ascension because of what I went through. So my journey wasn't just simple. Uniting the twin flames was not simple. I almost died. That's not a joke. And apparently the person or thing that tried to, I wasn't the first one that tried to do it, but I was the first one that survived it. And that's what they said. This plays out on my channel, all channeled through me as I was doing these things. And it takes me a while to process. And so when you think about what I did, it actually makes sense to the scrolls. The scrolls talk a lot about there were beings of the light, right? They were beings of the light and the way they lived. And I was listening to Dolores Cannon's version. I found a few versions. I want to do a little more research on it. So I'll probably do another video. And they blocked me from showing you guys the Discovery Plus one, which I'm like, gosh, God nabbit, why did they do that? But it's very, very, very interesting. It makes a lot of sense to me. They found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like I said, she talks about the fact that they had hidden the information. But the doomsday one talks about hidden information that they aren't quite sure of all the way. They don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I'll play a little bit more for you guys.
Investigates the secrets of Herod. Once in his mountain fortress. Herod's palace has an
They were
extraordinary
advanced.
water supply
They
built
talk
into
about
the
that.
belly of the mountain.
Very advanced civilization.
Here in 1946, a local Bedouin makes an extraordinary discovery.
This when they discovered
It
the
will
scrolls.
transform our understanding of what happens at Masada.
Now, scrolls are said to be the actual true
He was looking for a
Bible,
lost
what we
goat
have.
when he came to the entrance to a cave. He decided to throw a stone into the cave to see if he could flush out the goat.
Instead of hearing the stone hit rock, he hears it smash pottery. He enters the cave to investigate.
What was in those caves was the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century.
Hidden behind a narrow entrance lie strangely shaped ceramic jars. Curled up inside are ancient treasures, delicate scrolls of Hebrew writing.
Now, I will also tell you that the scrolls are significant. If you look back through my videos and you watch the workshops that I've done, and even I think when I resurrected Christ, when Jesus and Mary Magdalene, when I brought them back together and I undid the Holy Grail, because I had to like undo the writing in blood. I think I was handed a scroll. I'm constantly handed scrolls throughout my journey. A couple were already in my chakra system that we discovered through the work that I was doing. They would come out as needed and I would read them. And it's like the language of the gods, which also lines up with, the Hopi prophecy and the native language, the original language that was given. And all of it really does make sense. And it's really weird and it's really heavy, but it's pertinent information. This is like the truth. Now, apparently, I'm still wondering what information the Dead Sea Scrolls they're holding. But the Doomsday Prophecy talks about the final war of light and dark. Now, when I first started uniting with my twin flame after I freed Jesus's soul, I didn't understand what was happening. Spirit was trying to communicate with me, and I was trying to understand what was happening to me because these were very powerful things. Our souls just like started going like this energetically. We lived 2 doors down. Then we started filling with Christ light, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what was happening to me. I felt it. It was very powerful. It was such an experience that we were both like, what the hell's happening? But it turns out he was with a fallen angel. And I didn't know that at the time. I thought he was just an asshole. I'm like, what a jerk. He liked her better. And Spirit's like, don't say that. Like, this is more than that. So this was all unfolding. Like, I didn't understand it. I do now. He ended up, after we combined it energetically and our chakras, he took off with the fallen angel. And so for a whole year, the ascension got bypassed. And they talk about that on my channel. And I had no idea the return of Christ didn't happen yet. I didn't know. And you can see all that play out on my channel. But the thing is these scrolls talk about the Essenes, I think they're called. I'm still learning about this. It's not, don't quote me yet. give me a moment to really get the true talks of it. But it's Jesus and the beings of the light. And when you really know about how he died, it's all right there. Like, it all makes sense. And then the Garden of Eden, they told me, was in Jerusalem and Israel. And it turns out that's kind of where I think this battle took place. And then the Euphrates River was relevant for the fallen angels. It truly was, because I feel like that might be the cave system I went through. I don't know. That I'm still trying to piece together. It's been interesting. But in that year, I was being attacked constantly by fallen angels. It was very painful. They get in your head. It was a physical thing. It was a constant, he doesn't love you. And Spirit would be like, don't listen. And I had to work on healing myself, because that's the only way I could wake him up, because they were keeping his vibration low. And then we had our heart reviews, and they said mine was light and his was not. It had a dark hole in it. And in the end, he ended up dying. He had a choice. And he ended up not to come back. And then it's weird. It all plays out on my channel. That's all recorded too. And they took his soul and put it into another DM. Once they did that, a few months later came Christmas time, and they called him forward. He didn't come. And so crazy enough, I had to take on this blue light and I swelled up each time that happens. And it hurts. It hurts my vessel really bad. And then I united Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And then I undid the Holy Grail. The only way the cup comes into play is that's where Mary Magdalene collected the blood. And then John the Apostle wrote the contract written in his blood. And that's what I had to undo. So scrolls are very necessary. Things written are more powerful and meaningful than you realize. That's that spoken, the written word, the word, spells, spell casting. It's very weird and interesting. Let's see where else this goes.
200 years before Jesus.
Hi, Amy. What up,
Others are
G?
written during his
Can you
lifetime.
hear it?
One of them is
Okay,
written-
so Amy got here and I got to ask. So they won't let me show you guys the picture. They're blocking it. It is the Doomsday Prophecy on Discovery Plus. The Dead Sea Scrolls depicts of a doomsday prophecy. That's what they call it. It's where it's the final battle between light and dark. And I kind of think they talk about the battle where Jesus had died, really, but they leave that part out. You know, they always do. Because gosh, you know, geez, he died a different way a little bit. I don't know, just it wasn't all truthful. So that's where we're at. So hopefully you can hear it. You can't really see it. They won't let you. I tried to screen share it. I'll try one more time. And it's just black. So you can look at the black screen if you want.
20 feet long.
I'm sad
and
about it.
contains almost the entire book of Isaiah from the Old Testament. These battered parchments become known.
So he said it's almost the entire book of Isaiah from the Old Testament. So that might be relevant if you want to know about that.
As the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest biblical texts in the world. Today, the Dead Sea Scrolls are here in the Shrine of the Book at the Israel Museum. Almost 1
So they're
million
still in Israel. It's like I said, Israel, Jerusalem, that's where the Garden of Eden is. That's what they tell me, which is now where Jesus's soul is in a flower. Like that is so weird to me. I'm still processing what all that means, right? Like he is literally now part of the earth. Why didn't he go up, right? Like, it's beautifully interesting.
people visit this museum to see the scrolls each year. The giant Isaiah
I'll let you
scroll
guys
has
see
a place
me.
of honor. Can clues to solve the mystery of what happens at Masada be found here?
Hopefully you can hear it.
Penina Shore from the Israel Antiquities Authority is the curator of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
This is a sample of one of the big scrolls. We have 5 of them, really well preserved.
The scrolls are 1,000 years older than any other existing biblical text.
The first 7 scrolls that were found were in a very good condition.
1,000 years older than any other existing text. And when I was doing the clearings that we were doing, we also cleared religion, Catholicism. It was shrouded in darkness, just like Salem. I cleared Salem with somebody I know too during the process of clearing the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. Like I was constantly removing the darkness. They had showed me that it was kind of religion. They did it as a division. Okay. So it became corrupt. They brought in some darkness through choices, through manipulation of free will, things like that. Just what they always did. And it was to divide. And it was quite false. So you think about the kings and power, and that's why you have the different King James versions and the different versions like that. And so you can just kind of nullify it and bring it back down to the simple aspects of the truth of who we are. It's very interesting how it's all played out and what they've shown me and how it really does make sense.
And the reason for that is that they were found in jars, wrapped in linen. And therefore, this is what preserved them.
The almost perfect conditions inside the desert caves also helped the scrolls to survive 2,000 years. Today, Penina and her team are deciphering every last word and mark on them. They make surprising new discoveries.
We're now going through material that has not been deciphered yet because we couldn't see any of the ink on these fragments, and we are discovering new fragments.
So they're still, I guess, working through it, discovering it, working on it. And that's why now you have this doomsday prophecy. So in like the fourth scroll, I think is what they had talked about, is where they find the writings about the doomsday prophecy. And it is a battle, the final battle, they called it. So I think once Jesus was murdered, absolutely brutally, painfully snuffed out, and then they took all of the power of God, and really, that you want to talk about slavery, that's when we became enslaved. Okay. And that's the scroll, that's the holy grail that I had to undo. But they're still deciphering these things. Like, it's amazing. They still don't have it all together. And then you have to wonder what was hidden. What are they still hiding? Because they don't tell us everything. So I wish, like, I want to go to Israel and look at them myself. like it's amazing.
They photographed the scrolls with a special camera developed by NASA. It allows them to analyze the parchment under different light conditions. Sacred words lost for centuries emerge when they combine the images.
Again, hopefully you guys can hear it. They won't let me show it. They've blocked me. I keep trying, but it's just a black screen. It's on Discovery Plus. It's the Doomsday Prophecy, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The work that I have done, I talk about being the one who brought about the ascension. The work that I have done, it has everything to do with the realities and truths that don't necessarily line up. But they also said that they go along with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so it is a really good idea. I would recommend you watch that and compare it to the work that I've done. There's some major enlightenment here to be had, like for all of us. This is like the true reality of who we are, what happened to us, what happened to Jesus, what the return of Christ really is, why he's not just walking out of the sun or the sky or whatever people think is going to happen. Like, we never knew, but it's all here now. It truly is.
From both sides.
Today, 70 years after their discovery, the scrolls are still giving up new secrets. Here,
Yeah, as you can see, this is pretty clear.
this fragment reveals a word missing from a biblical scroll.
It's the word Israel.
Israel.
The scrolls are the greatest biblical treasures of all time.
It shows us how a minute fragment can actually help biblical studies and biblical research today.
But who wrote these mysterious scrolls? And what do they reveal of the mysterious prophecy of an apocalyptic battle at Masada?
The discovery of the scrolls raised a number of questions. Who wrote the scrolls? Where were they brought from? Why were they deposited in the caves? It was only further archaeological exploration of this area, that is, excavating more of the archaeological sites, that we would be able to answer those questions.
See, that's the thing, is there's so many different, I don't know. There's a lot to it, and this doesn't cover it all. So that's why I kind of want to do another one of these about the Dead Sea Scrolls, is this one really does kind of just reflect on the doomsday prophecy. But they also talk about how they lost at that time. That was when kind of Jerusalem was taken over. And I believe that is when, after Jesus had died and the Holy Grail had been created. And it was just, everything got taken over. And so in my thoughts at this point, is that whoever had written the scrolls probably felt a nudge to do so, right? We all feel nudges. We all feel like this intent, like I need to do these things. And it is said they are the beings of the light, like they're the sons of the God of the light or something like that. So.
Archaeologists discover more caves and more scrolls along the Dead Sea. One cave is a treasure trove of intriguing clues.
This is the opening to Cave 11. This cave, typical of the caves in the limestone cliffs along the shore of the Dead Sea, is a natural cave, which is very rugged.
Here, explorers find traditional biblical scrolls, but also discover ancient texts that never make the Bible, including a scroll predicting a violent cataclysm.
See?
One of the scrolls that was found here is a copy of the War Scroll, which describes the apocalyptic war at the end of days between the sons of light and the sons of darkness.
Now, when I first heard that, I got chills because like I literally, that spirit told me that I was battling 3 fallen angels. And that's when I started learning about the fallen angels. And that's when they started showing me the Euphrates River was drying up. And then they said it was biblical. And I had all this come through me as I was like processing it. I had no idea. It's not something I studied or cared to really. It's just something I didn't mess with. It's insane.
Does this doomsday prophecy explain why Jewish rebels hold Masada against the massed ranks of Romans? And what does it foretell of an apocalyptic war between the forces of good and the forces of evil?
Like, no joke, what I went through was so painful, you guys. So very painful. And on my channel, it kind of looked crazy at times because people didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Like at the time, I was all of a sudden uniting with my twin flame, and Spirit was putting out these messages, and then he took off, and Spirit's like, oh no, it's a fallen angel. It kept coming through as a fallen angel. And I'm like, well, it just took me so much to even figure it out. But I did free his soul in the end. It was quite a battle, and I won it. And Spirit kept calling me mahogany. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? That means you take a lightning strike and keep on ticking, right? What should have killed you didn't. So I had gotten a blood clot through my journey. I activated the pyramids. My heart became enlarged. Like it took a toll on me. When my DM died, I swelled up so bad. Like I felt like I aged 10 years from the attack. They said I actually took about 10 years off of my life. Like it was insane, but we did it. Like we won. I still haven't united with my DM, which really does suck ass. I feel like I've done everything I can possibly do. And that's just what it is. But I'm alive. He's alive. At this point, it's somebody new. But when you guys really do look at the videos that I did, like I'm not making this up, like it really did happen. Where the pyramids are, everything just makes so much sense. The way he died, when they talk about it in slavery, when did in slavery truly happen, right? Was it as simple as just black and white? No. I truly believe it was our planet and all of mankind. And Jesus was murdered, and him and Mary Magdalene were ripped apart because God made Adam and Eve, which is supposedly relation to who I am and what I cleared, all the karma back to them. And then when you watch the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Doomsday Prophecy, and you start learning about the Dead Sea Scrolls, next, I kind of want to do one of these on the Hopi Prophecy. Maybe that one they won't block me from so much, because that's another one Spirit said that relates to what I've done. And I have yet to be able to really learn anything about that. So I want to do another one of these. I want to learn a little bit more about the Dead Sea Scrolls, what is written in them. And I kind of want to talk about them a little bit. Because what they tell you is not what happened. So then, you guys, it's not like they just told me how Jesus died. I felt it. Like I felt it, and it was painful. It was so painful. And the memory that I got is when I was a kid going to church, and they make you do communion. Have you ever heard of communion? Where you get down on your knees, and I like was sick to my stomach because I've done this before, and now I knew what I was doing, and I didn't at the time. And this is kind of what they were doing. It's like with the Dead Sea, the Holy Grail, which was the contract written in Jesus's blood by John the Apostle, that in my mind kept them apart. Because in order to unite the twin flames, that's what I had to undo. It was horrible. And then the whole world started changing, and it took like lifetimes to take all the light, as much as light as they could, out of this planet and make it a very low vibrational planet. They moved the North and South Pole, and then the floods came, like all these kinds of things happen. Now, the beginning of time to this time with Jesus, I think are 2 different scenarios. I think with Atlantis, and both of them play out through my journey. That's the weird thing. But with Atlantis, that was like all the way back to the beginning of time, right? When the planet was much more higher vibrational, the technology was much higher. That's why people don't understand things. And at that time frame, they were also snuffed out. They talk about Eve eating the rotten apple and, the earth going down basically. And it kind of was like that, except for it was the fallen angels to begin with. And I feel like it just kept playing out, and it just kept playing out over centuries upon lifetimes of them undoing what was the light, and then convincing you that Jesus died for our sins. Here, eat this cracker and drink this juice or wine, whatever it is you were given for communion, and take part in the poisoning of God. And it's sick when you think about it. It's really kind of an awakening moment, and it's really kind of disgusting what they have done to me and to all of you and to all of us and to humankind. But don't worry, because Jesus died for your sins. And so the more you accept this darkness, don't worry. And that's a worry, because we're not half dark and half light. It was constantly, once the fallen angels separated from the light, you have no power. The only power they get is from the light. But it makes sense. The Dead Sea Scrolls talks about light and dark. It talks about chakra systems, you guys. And I want to do it. Like I said, I've been researching it. I just started researching it because Spirit had said, hey, what you did goes with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then I'm learning, holy shit, there's a doomsday prophecy, and it all makes sense. They talk about the beings of the light and the beings of the dark. And it's amazing. I encourage you guys to watch that. It's on Discovery Plus, which is not one of the expensive apps. I like it because it's not so expensive. It plays like hell on my Roku TV for whatever reason. So warning, it's not one of my favorite apps, but it is at the same time, it has one of the most shows that I watch. So it is on there if you do care to watch that one. And I have a few more books on the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I am going to do a little bit more research into it in comparison of what I've learned and brought through about Jesus, about Mary Magdalene, about John the Apostle, about how many of us were subject to communion, about how long it took them to convince you that they were normal beings. And then you can look at the other beings who call them reptilians. It makes a lot of sense. Even Dr. Phil, he has the book called The Life Code, you guys. If you listen to Dr. Phil, he talks about this kind of stuff too. It's actually pretty amazing when you put it all together. And when in totality, you can see the truth of who we are and what the ascension is. And so when Spirit would tell me that I brought about Judgment Day, that's that final battle between light and dark. And thank God I didn't know what I was doing while I was doing it, because I'm not so sure I would have made it through. Amy knows. Amy H, she was here. She witnessed all of this. So there was a few of you on my channel that actually witnessed the journey. They did the workshops with me. And Amy was in my alchemy academy. I had to teach her how to heal me when I was attacked by a fallen angel. Before I close out this video, I'll kind of tell you what that was like. So I tell you, my twin flame took off with a fallen angel, and I didn't just battle one, I battled three. The angels wouldn't even go where he was. They kept telling him they couldn't go there and things. And when he started finally healing, because I was healing myself diligently, I was very on point, doing whatever Spirit told me to do, and I battled it hard. I went against every kind of attack the dark puts out, which I know them all. I'm very familiar, and they're painful. One of the attacks they did on me was physical. I was asleep at night. My DM was choosing me. Okay. And so he was choosing me, and he got attacked and I got attacked. They said his attack was much worse than mine, but I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I started crying and moaning and hurting and so much pain. Okay. This is very real. I don't know if Amy's still there. There's a delay. She can vouch for this story. Okay. I hope she hears this again, because she had to do the healing on me. We've talked about this before. If you don't believe dark is real, think again. This was one of the most painful experiences, and this is probably what took the 10 years off of my life. One of the main things. But I had woke up in so much pain. This has happened a couple times, but this time was different. They blew out my solar plexus. There was like some sword in it or something when she did the healing that she had to pull out, but it was so painful. The physical pain was astronomical, because that's why I reached out to her and I said, I need help. I need help now. I was crying. It was physically painful. My stomach hurt so bad. Then she started pulling out all this black tar. There was like all this black tar. And she said it was like so tarry and it was so hard. And look, she commented, all of that you were saying about your workshop is so true. I felt most everything, also maybe not on the same level, but did feel it. Yeah. But when she had to do this healing on me, because I taught her how to heal, that's what my academy was. It was this black tar. Once she got to a certain point, I started energetically vomiting out what looked like stuffing, like almost like something you would put in the walls. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say what was that shit they would put in the walls, like just like the stuffing for warmth. So she said the healing she did on me was painful and it was unbelievably amazing. It was. And I was throwing up what looked like, I don't know why I can't think of the word. It looked like stuffing for your house to keep your walls warm. Insulation. Geez. Blonde moment. True colors. Going a little gray, but the blonde's real. So is the gray in truth. Hi, Jacinth. She knows too. And I was throwing up this insulation. It looked like insulation. I don't really know what it was. Then after that, and mind you, this was painful. This was not something light. They attacked my arm, which I actually did freakishly break, and my bone popped out the side by a freak accident. Like, it was so weird, you guys. I don't talk about that much. And I couldn't take pain pills. I couldn't have surgery. They had to squeeze my bones back together. It was horrible. But in the healing, I was puking up the energetically, and then it turned into what looked like cockroaches, and it was like hundreds of them, and I was just puking them out, and it kept going. She had to pull it. We had to do like 3 or 4 healings for that one. That was when I was attacked by a fallen angel. That was one of the worst attacks. There were multiple. He had ended up sleeping with her and giving her my light, which I would like end up wailing in the middle of the night. It would hurt so bad. It was like literally killing me. So this battle between light and dark that the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Doomsday Prophecy talks about is very freaking real. And it was very painful. And this is why I struggle so much with this journey that I've had. But I'm also so freaking honored, and I made it through and I survived. And the happiest day of my life would be uniting with my new twin flame, because he and I have 2 candles we need to light. These 2 candles over here, Spirit had me light before I resurrected Christ. You can see them over there in the corner on my shelf. They're in these chalices, which is interesting. And my DM and I were supposed to unite, light the candles, and then resurrect Christ together. But he missed it and didn't show up. So I'm still waiting to do that. But Christ has returned. I did more than just that. Like, who would have thought that the ascension, the return of Christ, would be as much things as I did? Right? It wasn't just about doomsday, about the light and dark battle, about Jesus and the return of Christ. Like, it was also the return of Atlantis, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were twin flames that also got ripped apart, and so did Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I've been told they're one and the same. Okay, so it's like multiple lifetime experiences where we kept trying to come back. And yeah, Amy said it looked like what was in the Green Mile. It did. It did. It was horrible and it was painful, but it was also physical. Okay, so attacks from darkness are very real. The ascension is way more than we could have ever imagined it being. And they have poisoned us all way more than we could have ever imagined them doing. And all of us have some healing to do because of that. And I'm one of them, right? I did communion. I knew something was wrong there. I think they got me when they told me if I didn't get baptized, I was going to go to hell. And I told them, okay, I'm going to hell. And that was when I was a kid. I was a little bit rebellion. But you know what I mean? Like, we've all been eating that poison. We've all fallen prey to the falsehoods and what is not of the light. And then they convinced you, oh, don't worry, because you're forgiven, because, you know, God judges and Jesus died for your sins. And that is not it at all. Okay. It's either you're attacked through your free will and you do things against the light and you let in darkness. That's what it is. Or you choose not to let in darkness and you stay with the light. That's exactly what it is. And that's the battle that's been playing out on my soul and all of your souls over this entire ascension. But not even the ascension, it's been lifetimes. So how many people do you know bloodshed in armies? And like, there's not armies, the wars, all of these kinds of things. When you think about it, like there's so much carnage and undue heartache and things that are just not of unconditional love. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Think about the work that I did. I moved the North and South Pole more times than I can count. Move the moon, move the sun, draw down the sun. I activated pyramids. We cracked the earth all the way up until just yesterday. I cracked the earth again. Like it's continual, but it's actually playing out. So I really wonder what the totality of the ascension is going to be, but they don't really tell me. So I know they're not going to tell anybody. And Jacinth says, such an incredible, unbelievable journey you've been through to bring about the ascension, but it is very real. She bared witness to it all as well. Jacinth did, Amy did. Like there are so many people that did bear witness to it, that followed the whole journey. And my DM on the other side feels it through me. He just hasn't expressed who he is yet to me or anybody else. So that's another weird situation where Malachi is actually holding the balance of the DM. That still scares me. I mean, we're in balance, but it's like sad to me. The DM is just letting the angels do the work. Like, let's fix that. And that's still where I'm kind of at, but there's not much more I can do. I feel like I've done so much, and all I can do is just love myself at this point, heal myself. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. And that's kind of what I hope my videos will reflect as well, you guys. But you have to watch the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Doomsday Prophecy. And I recommend that highly. I don't know if it might be on YouTube, right? Because there's cool stuff like that on YouTube all the time. You can usually find everything on YouTube, like even this video, which is pretty strange, but pretty awesome. Check out my YouTube channel, you guys. Check out my Ascension playlist. All the pyramid activations, all of the Return of Christ, all plays out on there. The twin flame unions, everything plays out in real time. You can watch me be shocked and change and go through it. And maybe you can even awaken and heal into it too. It's insane. So I'm so happy you guys were here. I want to do this, like I said, again. I want to do it for the Hopi prophecy, the Hopi blue prophecy, maybe do a reaction video to that, but they keep blocking me, y'all. I don't know why they're so hard up on me. I don't even make money on here yet. I don't quite have enough subscribers to even make money on here yet. Little shystas. But I hope you guys got something out of this. I did. The Dead Sea Scrolls was not anything I'd ever kind of considered. And I'm excited to learn more about them. Oh, here's one more final thing too I'll leave you with before I go. In what I was hearing about Dolores Cannon, she did a book about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And there are people who bear witness and talked about them in real time because, like I said, they held some of the information. Now, there was a talk of chakra systems. They explained chakra systems. They said there was 12 commandments, not 10. And so I started kind of channeling the commandments. I want to do it again because it wasn't complete. So it was pretty interesting. But in the chakra system, they talk about, you guys are well aware of the chakras I activate a lot, which is the Merkaba and the causal chakra. They actually mentioned those two being special and specific, and that the causal was actually knocked dormant a long time ago. And so that was mentioned in there, and I talk about that, and that plays into Atlantis. And the Dead Sea Scrolls is very relevant. I love it. So I thank Spirit for letting me know about that information and where to go find the information that really does line up to the work that I did. So I can't wait to learn more about it. So we'll call this part 1 for now. I don't know when I'll be back. I want to do a little more research. Sound cool? And hopefully they'll let me show the dang video because I've tried. And they like immediately block me. And yet other people get away with lots of stuff. What the hell? They don't like the truth being put out there, do they? Just saying, says I joined late, so I'll need to watch the replay to hear what you have to say about the Dead Sea Scrolls. For sure. I didn't play it all because they blocked me from allowing you to see it, but I did give a little tidbit into what they are, kind of where they came, where they found them, and we'll do more another time. Okay, so this was kind of a little diving into it, little backstory into what really happened and how it speaks of a doomsday prophecy. They don't have all the details. It's not quite clear. They're still trying to put it together. You know how we do. So I'm so happy you guys joined me. Thank you for joining me. I finished the 21-day meditation course today too, you guys, and it ended really awesome. So it plays out to where if you do it and you get into it, it could probably spark a Kundalini awakening. So be careful. It ended with some of the things that I did. It was a very beautiful journey. And so I just wanted to say thank you to those that did join me for that. Currently right now, I cut it down to half off just in case anybody does want to join that. But what I would tell you and I will leave you with is that things have never been what they had thought. They're very real and very, very powerful. And if you really consider that the Ascension Judgment Day is very real and your heart is reviewed and we are all going somewhere different, things will never be the same. Maybe you can just take a moment today to appreciate what's around you just a little bit more. Love each other, hug each other, love the world around you, take pictures, play outside, embrace it before these changes really do take hold. Because again, I just know they're real and they're going to be massive, but we never know exactly what or when. So much love to all of you. I thank you for being with me, and I will see you next time. I'm going to go make a nice, lovely breaded chicken dinner for my kids, I think. Till next time. Hasta la vista. Bye, guys.